Integers Lesson A Notes example number 3. We're going to simplify these. Example 3 is a combination of example 1 and example 2. And it's really not different than those. It's just there's 3 numbers now instead of 2. But the operation is still either going to be addition or subtraction. If you remember your rules for the order of operations, in other words, PEMDAS, addition and subtraction have the same priority. And when they have the same priority, you're going to work from the left to right. So what I'd like you to write here is work left to right. From now on, I'll probably put L and then an R, or sorry, an arrow and then an R. That means work from left to right. So you just want to break this down and do 2 digits at a time. So looking at A, let's start with these first 2 digits right here. Well, before we do anything, do you see any double negatives? In A, I'm looking for double negatives. I don't see any double negatives. So if I don't see any double negatives, I'm going to go to the first 2 digits. The first 2 digits is -4 and -21. -4 and -21. Those signs are they're the same. They're both negative. Since they're the same, we're going to add those 2 numbers together and keep the sign. So 4 plus 21 is 25, and we're going to keep the negative. Now what you want to do with this here on the end is just bring it down. So -25 plus 5. And now you do the same thing with this. Are these signs here the same or different? I have a -25 and a +5. -25 and a +5. These signs are different. If the signs are different, we're going to subtract. 25 minus 5 is 20, and then keep the sign of the larger number. 25 is the larger number, so this would be -20. So again, when you've got more than 2 numbers, it's all the same operations, addition and subtraction have the same priority, you're going to work from left to right. So for B, first I'm going to look for double negatives. I don't have any double negatives. I do have double signs though. I don't like double signs, and to be honest with you, double signs can be somewhat confusing. So I am going to combine the first 2 numbers. I am going to combine this -12 and -9. But do you see this double sign right here? When you're adding a negative number, that's the same as subtracting it. When you're adding a negative, that's the same as subtracting it. In other words, I'm going to drop the plus sign. Well, first I'm going to combine the -12 and the -9. They're both negative numbers. So I'm going to add them together and get 21. And then I'm going to keep the sign because it's the same sign, add and keep the sign. So it's going to be -21. Now, instead of bringing down plus -4, I'm going to just bring down the -4. If you want to bring down plus -4, there's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't mark it wrong. I just prefer to stay away from double signs. I think double signs can be confusing and cause mistakes that otherwise you wouldn't make if you don't have the double signs. So I'm going to get rid of the double sign and just make it -4. It only becomes positive when it's double negatives. This is not double negatives, it's a positive and negative, so the sign in between will be negative. All right, now we're going to combine these. Looking at these 2, I've got a -21 and a -4. That means the signs are the same, so I'm going to add them together and get 25. And then when you add, you keep the sign. All right, for C, the first thing you want to look for in C are double negatives. Right here, I have double negatives. I also have double signs here at the end that I'm going to get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of all my double signs. Double negatives become positive, and if it's a positive and a negative, it's going to stay negative. So the double negatives will become positive. So I'm going to rewrite this as -13. The double negatives is going to become positive 5. And then instead of putting plus -8, I'm just going to bring down the -8. Now we work left to right. So we're going to start with these two numbers here. Are those signs the same or different? I've got a -13 and a positive 5. -13 and a positive 5, those signs are different. So I'm going to subtract. When the signs are different, you subtract. 13 minus 5 is 8. And then we keep the sign of the larger number. 13 is the larger number, so I keep it as -8. Then I bring this number down. So I'm going to bring down the -8. Are those signs the same or different? Are the signs here the same or different? I've got a -8 and a -8. They are both negative, so the signs are the same. 8 plus 8 is 16. And when you add, you keep the sign, so it's going to stay -16. If you have any questions on example 3 or any questions on adding and subtracting integers, please let me know. Remember, if the signs are the same, add and keep the sign. If the signs are different, subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. And remember to don't think addition and subtraction, but think positive and negative. If you have any questions, let me know.